call this meeting of the Game and Fisheries Committee to order. Before we do roll call, we are here for the presentation of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission Annual Report. I am asking that if there are any questions or comments following the director's presentation, please reserve those comments and questions to the contents of the report. I know there are a lot of other issues floating around and going on concerning the commission, but we are here today for the purpose of this report, so please contain any questions, comments to the contents of the report. Erin, will you take roll call, please?
Chair Kulik,
Here.
Rep Davison,
Designation here.
Rep Doherty,
Designation here.
Rep Gungenauer,
Designation here.
Rep Gentz,
Designation here.
Rep Haddock, Rep Harris, Rep Hohenstein,
Designation here.
Rep Inglis,
Designation here.
Rep Kazim,
Designation here.
Rep Mirsky,
He is here online.
Rep Resnick,
Designation here.
Rep Still,
Designation here.
and Rep Young.
Designation here.
Okay. Chair Maloney,
Here.
Rep Anderson,
Designation.
Rep Banta.
Designation. Oh.
Yeah, he's here. Rep Cook, Rep Devanzo,
Designation.
Rep Kerwin, Rep Kuzma,
Designation.
good morning, Rep Labs,
Designation.
Rep Olsummer,
Designation.
Rep Reichert,
Designation.
Rep Smith,
I think he's on his way. You'll
Rep Wentley. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Director Schaefer, you may begin your remarks.
Great. Well, thank you, Chair. Before I begin, I would like to recognize our staff and commissioners who attend or in attendance, if I may. So going around the room, Kaylee Glock, our legislative liaison, who everybody in this building knows is the best liaison in this building.
Whoa.
Colonel Jeff Sabo is the director of our Bureau of Law Enforcement. Mike Parker is our communications director. Don Anderson is on our Board of Commissioners. He's from Somerset County. Bob Cassis, Policy and Planning Director, also a familiar face to folks in this building. Katie Brashear is the director of our Bureau of Administration. Laura Landers is our deputy for administration. Rob Brown is our deputy for field operations. And Rick Hoffman is our commissioner. He's from Southeast PA. He's from Berks County. And while not here on official business, Aaron Check, if Aaron want to raise her hand, is one of our waterways conservation officers from Philadelphia. And Walk Buckman, retired officer from Northeast PA. So I think I got everybody. Is anybody? I think I got everybody. So good. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present our report today on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, our Boating Advisory Board, and our staff. You have our 2025 annual report. The report contains highlights from the past year. You can never get everything into one report, but have gotten really good feedback about the format in which we distill and provide examples of the work that we've done throughout the year. One of the things that you'll note in the report is we have a special section every year, and Mike Parker's here, and he plays a big role in putting it together. We have a focus on resource restoration in the report, and you'll see from things like restoration of freshwater mussels to aquatic organism passage that benefits wild trout populations, stream habitat, lake habitat, access projects. There is a lot that you'll see in there that we're doing to help to restore the aquatic resources of Pennsylvania and also restore the recreational amenities that people use. Before I get into some of the details I did mention to the chair, would like to start actually going off script a little bit just for folks listening with some ice safety tips. Whenever I'm before this body, I always talk about life jacket wear and reminder, we have a cold water life jacket requirement in Pennsylvania. November 1st through April 30th, all canoes, kayaks, and boats under 16 feet, you have to wear your life jacket. That regulation is working. We have seen about a 50% reduction in fatalities in those cold weather months since that's been in effect. But what I'd like to just put on the radar screen today is ice safety. I was driving into work yesterday, and the station I listened to is out of Philadelphia, and they were talking about people walking on the Schuylkill River. Please do not walk on the frozen Schuylkill River. We have been blessed with a winter that's made for ice fishing, certainly in Representative Smith's neck of the woods. I know people are ice fishing. Nice long cold snap is made for some great ice that's out there for ice fishing. But as temperatures fluctuate, you will see this freeze and thaw cycle, and dangers will persist. But never, under any circumstances, should anyone venture onto flowing water that is frozen. The depths of the ice are variable. And if you get swept under that ice, really good chance that you're not coming back out. So we just implore not only the anglers of Pennsylvania, but people that may think that it looks cool to be out there. Please stay off the ice. I know the chair and I were talking about folks seeing this in Pittsburgh as well. So please practice good ice safety. And a couple tips, if you are going to get out on the ice to enjoy ice fishing, make sure you wear a life jacket or a float coat. A lot of these things you've got buoyancy built right into the coats. Visually inspect the ice when you get to the ice's edge. Make sure that it looks safe. Frankly, if it doesn't look safe, definitely stay away. People ask, what is safe ice? Well, it really varies. We typically say at least 4 inches, but in each circumstance, it's unique. If you hear loud cracks or booms coming from the ice, it may indicate that it's deteriorating, so please be careful. Look for new ice, which is clear. You don't want a cloudy-looking ice. Please also stay away from the shorelines. If you see sticks or tree stumps popping up and the ice melting around that, it looks unsafe for a reason. It is. Always carry a pair of ice awls. These are tools that if you would fall in, you can grab yourself and pull yourself out. Please don't go alone. Make sure that someone is with you. But if you have any doubt about it, please stay away. And you can go to fishandboat.com for more tips on ice safety. So thank you for that public service announcement here at the beginning while we had a captive audience. So again, in the report, you'll see that it's laid out in a way that's organized by our commissioner districts. We do have 8 commissioners that are geographically based and 2 that are boating at large commissioners. And we like presenting the information in a way that's geographically relevant for the legislators. And I'll be happy to answer any of the questions about the items that are in the report. One thing I will acknowledge in the report, and I had a really nice conversation about Representative Haddock about this about 2 weeks ago. You will note, and if you look at it, and I hope you're transparent as we can be, you will note that the revenues and expenses, there's about a $4 million difference there. That's largely driven by cash flow, when our money comes in and when money comes out, and also new labor agreements that are in place for our staff. As you can imagine, personnel is the number one thing in our budget. And one of those agreements actually was retroactive, so we had to pay from before the past fiscal year in this fiscal year. And we also, when our bills come due, for some of our infrastructure, we also have a new research vessel that we're constructing for Lake Erie. Looking forward to getting Representative Banta out on that this summer. But really a function of cash flow and expenses.
He's not the only one, right?
No, you're coming too. Yeah. So if I may divert real quickly, we have right now the newest research vessel on the lake. That'll be the newest research vessel on the Great Lakes being fabricated in Superior, Wisconsin right now. And from having the oldest boat, which looks like the boat from Jaws, to a modern vessel that allows us to conduct research for walleye, lake trout, and other populations on Lake Erie. But that was another example of when those bills come due. One of the things, a decision that our board made back in 2019 was to keep 70% of prior year's revenues in reserve. Because, think about it, our revenues come in, we're pretty low right now because right before trout season. But as a way to buffer against those ebbs and flows of cash flow, as well as accommodate for when certain expenses come in, we get federal reimbursements. It's about 20% of our budget. That typically comes in the fall, but that can vary. Even with that $4 million difference there, we were able to basically bank that again and maintain that 70% of reserves. And we also, there's no intent for a fishing license. I was going to get to this later, but now's a good point to talk about it. Thank you to the General Assembly for the bill that provided and to this committee for unanimously approving it. It was Senate Bill 800, Senator Rothman's bill that got manifested in the fiscal code that provides flexibility between our fish fund and our boat fund. And Lake Erie, while we're on it, is probably the best example of that. So if you're going to go fishing for walleye these days in Lake Erie, and I hope you do because you will catch your limit, the fisheries management work that we do up there benefits the boaters. You're going to be using a boat most likely to fish for walleye in Lake Erie. So if we could use boat fund dollars for fish fund purposes, as long as it benefits boaters, that's the intent of this. It allows us to really manage our funds as efficiently as possible. And if there are any transfers made like that, we will report on it at this committee next year. One of the things that we willingly worked with Senator Rothman to put into the legislation and made it into the fiscal code was a reporting requirement, and we'll gladly do that next year. But just wanted to, be upfront about that if anybody saw that note in the annual report. And I'll look to my two administrative gurus. Did I get that right? Okay, good. I always check to make sure I got things right, and then if I don't, they'll tell me. So again, lots in the annual report, and happy to answer questions about any of them. But one thing that you will see, are images of legislators who have joined us, and a number of you in the last couple of years. We just cannot thank you enough for helping us to get the word out about safe boating, the public safety announcements that you record with Mike and Kaylee here and around the Commonwealth. They're making a difference. They are really making a difference. We welcome you guys to get back out with us this year. Trout stocking begins February 17th. Certain parts of the Commonwealth, we will certainly be breaking ice to get the trout in the water, but that's something that we've done before. We're experienced with that, but please consider joining us in the field then. Our Mentored Youth Trout Day will be March 28th this year. We open up trout season a week early for kids. We had record participation last year, which I will thank Mother Nature. That's why it was so good. It was, we had a long, cold winter last year, and it was a gorgeous day, and everybody wanted to get out. So I'm enjoying the cold weather here, but hoping for a good Mentored Youth Trout Day on March 28th. And then opening day, April 4th, we have great wild trout fisheries. We have great waters you can fish statewide every day of the year, right? And Pennsylvania is great because we have something for everybody. But we all look forward to that opening day, Christmas morning for us on April 4th. National Safe Boating Week will again be the week before Memorial Day, May 16th to 22nd. Please consider joining us. We have a number of new law enforcement boats. I know Representative Maloney joined us on one recently on Blue Marsh. Representative Kulik's been out with us on the Three Rivers. Open invitation to please join us on those new law enforcement boats that are safer for our staff, safer for the customers with whom we interact. And National Safe Boating Week's a great week to do that. Fish for Free Day, those are two dates that are mandated in the code that we can pick when they are. We do them around Memorial Day and 4th of July every day this year, every day and every year, and that'll be this year again around those holidays. Then Operation Dry Water, this will be a 4th of July. I can still remember the bicentennial when the train came through in, first grade. Those of us who were alive in 1976 remember this, so it'll be a 4th of July like that. And a lot of people will be on the water. There will be a lot of people watching the fireworks from boats. For the folks that are listening and for your constituents, we will really look forward to working with you guys to get safety messages out to boaters on the 4th of July weekend. And we will have officers out in cooperation with other law enforcement, first responders, to make sure people are being safe for something called Operation Dry Water. Reminder, BUI, boating under the influence, is the same as driving under the influence. The penalties are the same, and the risks are just as great, if not greater, with those couple thousand-pound missiles that you're driving out there that don't have brakes. So as we approach 4th of July weekend, know that we will have an extra eye on the water. As far as some numbers, we always get asked how we doing with fishing licenses. We're doing pretty darn good, and we're about the same as we were. 2019 is really your barometer. It's pre-COVID, and we're down a little less than 1% since 2019, but that's good, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. One, the senior lifetime license phenomenon that we have is we start in the hole every single year, and we have, I put in my remarks, we have 815,000 actively licensed anglers. That's the number of licenses that we've sold. Those include multi-year licenses. But if you look at who we consider to be active anglers, including prior year senior lifetime purchases, there's about 200,000 of those. 20% of the folks that we consider to be active anglers these days are senior lifetime license holders. Let that sink in for a minute for an agency that doesn't receive general fund revenue.
We're pretty important.
Yes, you are.
We have grandchildren.
I know. But we need to be. I just wanted you guys to be mindful of that impact on the sales that's starting to have for us. But even with that, we're still holding steady there. Trout permits, again, relatively stable with pre-COVID numbers. The number that keeps going up is the unpowered boat registrations. We're seeing that nationwide. We have seen a dip in powerboat registrations. That's also part of a national trend, doing everything we can to correct it. But you really see that shift to the unpowered and smaller vessels. Want to thank this body for just a really incredible run of legislative success in the last year that built on the previous session. Mentioned the fiscal code provision that was manifested in Act 45. Chair Kulik, Representative Maloney, you guys helped us really put the abandoned and derelict vessel issue on the map. It is a big problem. I see Parks Head nodding. Lake Erie, I can still picture a call that I got from Representative Harkins about a boat that was tied up, abandoned on the shores of Lake Erie. It's happening all over the place, but as a result of Act 28, there are now tools in place for municipalities to deal with this. And thanks to Paul for setting up a meeting with us, with Representative Solomon a couple weeks ago, where we sat in his office and he talked about some of his neighborhoods that are plagued with abandoned jet skis and boats. Well, our staff went and met with him and the Philadelphia Parking Authority just a couple weeks ago to try to start to address this problem. So we've got tools that are in place now. Thanks to the committee, next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we're looking forward to welcoming the committee to our headquarters, just a few miles away on Emerson Avenue. At 11 o'clock, we're actually going to have a hearing devoted to this topic. And if you're unable to attend, it'll be recorded and happy to get that out to your constituents. So thanks again for providing that tool for us and municipalities to deal with it. Our Boating Advisory Board, Representative Deloso, had a bill that reconfigured how our BAB, it's any boating-related regulation needs to go through the Boating Advisory Board, and it helped to streamline what the membership was there, actually remove some staff from the board that didn't make really sense, and put our 2 boating at large commissioners there. So that was a good success. And then Senator Pennycook, Act 21 was a really good bill that helped us to streamline how we issue senior lifetime licenses, and everything's moved to cell phones, right? And so it used to be you had to go to the county courthouse to renew your license, prove your disability. That's frankly a pretty offensive thing to ask someone to have to do. But we had to change some things legislatively and through regulation to correct that. So that was a good one. So those got enacted into law. 2 bills that, thank you to this committee for passing unanimously already. Representative Mirsky on the line, House Bill 1418 and a companion, Senate Bill 476, Senator Williams. This allows us to regulate electrified watercraft in the same way that we do internal combustion engines. There is a relic, like so many things that I'm sure this body is dealing with beyond fishing and boating, but with the electrification of cars and vehicles and everything else, we can't require boating safety certificates or life jacket wear for things like e-foils and jet boards that are electrified watercraft that will just boogie down the lake. We want to be able to treat those like gas-powered jet skis, and this bill would allow us to do that. So again, thank you for passing House Bill 1418 unanimously out of this chamber. And then also thanks for a unanimous vote on Representative Mihalik's bill dealing with the marking of low-head dams around Pennsylvania, run-of-the-river dams around Pennsylvania. What helps to improve how information gets shared between us and DEP, and then also helps with the penalties if someone's not in compliance with that. And again, just have to thank my entire team, notably Bob and Kaylee, for the great work that they do. Working with you, working with your staffs, working with Griff and Paul, the executive directors, same in the Senate. Just really appreciate that relationship. Waterways conservation officers, again, Colonel Sabo is here. We are happy that we graduated a class of 19 officers last July, and we'll be graduating another class of 9 officers on July 17th here at the state capitol. open invitation to join us for that. It is just a grand setting to have the officers. I think we have a photograph of the graduation where we conduct it right in the rotunda, and it's just a powerful.
Excuse me, some of another green hair, but I was just want to comment on the abandonment. Some of that comes out of attrition, like your baby booms aging out, so.
Yep.
Some of that's coming out of that also.
Absolutely. And Representative Harris, if you got that in your neighborhood, happy to work with you on that as well.
I was Deputy Director of World prior to being, so they're accounting a lot of that.
Yep, yep, thank you. And I, and on that topic, and if a boat does pass from one owner to another, someone passes away, there are processes in place, if you want to transfer the ownership. But in some cases, in many cases, these are, old fiberglass vessels, not without a lot of, resale vessel. I know, happy to work with the chair's alma mater, Duquesne. They've been helping us to put together some plans for how to deal with those fiberglass boats. So that concludes the highlights that I wanted to share with you today. Happy to answer any questions, but if you're not planning to go to the Great American Outdoor Show, the same day that we're having the hearing, would be happy to have you over to our booth at the show. We play a prominent role there as we do at the Pennsylvania Farm Show, but if you'll be at the Great American Outdoor Show, please stop by our booth and say hello.
Okay, thank you very much. You got anything? Okay, Representative Haddock.
Thank you, Chairmans. Jimmy, again, every year I say this. I'm going to say it again. The annual report comes out, 30 pages, 28 pages of fluff, 2 pages of financial information. Every other department, agency in the state of Pennsylvania goes through a budget hearing. I know this isn't an exact budget hearing, but we got to have more information than what's presented. 2 pages just isn't enough to get a picture financially. I'm going to tell you, I've heard before that we hear about the expenditures versus the income, and with the fiscal year and the calendar year and some reimbursements, your revenues are short. But the next year you receive those revenues, something isn't stated here clearly. It looks like this year the revenues are at 77 million. Excuse me, expenses are at 77 million, and we have 72 million in revenue. So we have a $5 million shortfall, and this happens every year. So, and there's no fund balance reports from your agency. Where are we at with the fund balances of your agency from this year to last year? And that gets, when I say that, we're 1 year behind. So I don't care if you give me 1 year behind and then 2 year behind. But where is the cash
Sure.
position?
Yep, and I will. So I'm going to ask Katie Brashear, who's our admin deputy, to come up and share some of those numbers. And so our numbers are reported as, even though we're not a general fund agency, it was reported as part of the governor's budget book. So those numbers are in there. Our budgets are approved by the governor's office, even though we have to come up with the money. They do get approved. So those numbers are all there. And Representative Haddock, always happy to share anything beyond the summary that we have here. Happy to share that with you and all the members of the committee.
Okay.
Sure. So were you asking for the current fund balances?
Yeah,
Sure.
where are you at?
Yep. As of January 27th, the fish fund balance
Well,
is...
that's a snapshot, so you're going right to the day, not year end or anything.
Right, this
Okay,
was
go ahead.
the- Yeah, 56.6 million in the fish fund.
In what
Can
fund
you
your
speak up a
speaker isn't
little
on?
bit?
Is that better? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the fish fund balance was 56.6 million as of January 27th. The boat fund was 63.7 million, with a total combined balance of 120.3 million.
Okay, so we have cash on hand. Now, again, in this report, Game Commission just reported yesterday, and again, the oil, I see some notes in the bottom. but we did not get any information here, if I'm reading it right, on the gas royalties this past year. And I know usually it's about $1 million or so. Where are we at with the gas royalties this year versus?
Last year in fiscal year 24-25, we received 1.4 million.
I'm sorry, what was the number?
1.4 million
1.4.
last fiscal year, and as of now, for this current fiscal year, we've received about $1 million so far.
And we keep those dollars for natural gas that's drilled under, we don't have any wells on our property, but our lakes that are around Pennsylvania are oftentimes surrounded by gas wells, and so there is directional drilling under the lakes. And we invest those into a restricted revenue account and use those for improvements to our properties. We actually, any money that's derived from our properties goes back into Fish and Boat Commission assets.
And they're deposited in what, the fish fund then, or the boat fund?
It's a restricted revenue account. That
So how much money do you have in this restricted revenue account that we didn't hear about?
In that particular restricted revenue account, the current balance, the uncommitted balance is $1.7 million.
And Representative, happy to, again, if you'd like, we'd be happy to share, what those restricted revenue accounts are, what's the balance in each of those. Happy
Well, I
to
think
share
for
this with you.
transparency, and I've said this before for 3 years, and it's not appearing in the report, so I do think that that information is important to this committee and to the fishermen of Pennsylvania. Thank you. One last question. Since the last report, you didn't mention being one of the biggest things that happened, yourself, your agency, and the Game Commission combined with a study, which isn't done yet, but obviously it's going to be important to this committee. Can you give us an update, Tim, on the cost-saving study? And I will tell you up front, kudos to you, because you came out and said it's up to and including possible merger, and our other commission said, no, we're not looking at a merger. But when we looked at the actual specs of the scope of the work, it does include merger. So at least you were upfront and honest with us. So I appreciate that.
And if the director can answer that as well as he
Yeah, lightly.
can, and he will, for the members, we will be addressing this probably sometime in June when the report comes out.
Yeah.
And we will more than likely be sitting here again
Yeah.
discussing that. So
Yeah.
just so everyone knows, the information is forthcoming, but I will let the director speak.
Sure, yeah, and I look forward to that. And I've talked to members, most of the members of the committee, certainly the chairs. So we in the Game Commission hired the Wildlife Management Institute. So we are the only state in the country, as you know, with separate fish and game, separate fish and wildlife agencies. And, about a year ago or more, Steve and I looked at each other and said, hey, is there a way that we can do this even better and more efficiently to make sure that every nickel of every license dollar is going into conservation, going into the resource, going into the customer, and going into what we do. And that this is really an effort to see where are those redundancies, and how can we make sure that we're being as efficient with license dollars as possible on behalf of the customers and the staff that we serve. We shared a copy of the summary, the Wildlife Management Institute, the report that they're doing. They are the foremost experts nationally on natural resource policy and governance, and so they're taking an unbiased look at what we've got here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to offer. I appreciate our Board of Commissioners' willingness to look at this. I saw Mike Kreiner in the back of the room, and I've now been to the Southeast Federation meeting of the Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs. I don't know, 4 weeks ago, Rick Hoffman was there with me. We were at the Southwest delegation Sunday. Don Anderson was there, where Cabela's was the time we did the one in the Southeast. And, when I talked to the sportsmen, I said, this is all about, and I talked about that, and Chair, if you don't want me to go further, I could talk about this if you like, but
It's up to you. I know we'll
Yeah.
be
No, I
getting into
appreciate it.
this.
In the interest of time,
Yep.
you've given us a high level, and
Okay.
I'm satisfied.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah,
That's
and
my
any
last question.
members, in the room, happy to come talk with you specifically if you've got sportsmen's clubs you'd like us to come talk to about what the analysis is. Open book, right, Representative Haddock? Absolutely, open book. But this is about making sure that we're being as smart as we can with sportsmen's dollars. Yep.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Hohenstein?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tim, for coming up. I've got more of a comment. I will say that the fiscal responsibility and reporting issues that Rep. Haddock brings up, and that I know Chair Maloney has focused on, not just with you, but it was also with the Game Commission, are issues that I absolutely share, and I do believe that this review that the two of you are doing to look at where we can find cost savings, and hopefully then also come up with some greater transparency on where funds are, what can be done. I will say my own experience with 6 miles of the Delaware River in my district in the middle of the city of Philadelphia, the Fish and Boat Commission has been instrumental in our efforts to reclaim that river for the people and not just simply give it over to industry as was done for the past over 100 years. And I just want to commend you, commend Kaylee for all of her work, in communicating with us on things like abandoned boats, and you guys had a role. Philadelphia Police also did a hell of a lot on this crazy thing where like a boat and a jet ski and a box truck and a burnt out car all got stuck behind an alley for years, and you guys were a key element in making sure that got cleaned up. And I don't want to embarrass Erin too much, but I'm going to just say our longtime fish and boat warden, Erin Check, is here as well, and just appreciate her service, her family's service in both Fish and Boat and the Game Commission. You guys are one of, if not the most important state agency in my district, because of the revitalization that you have provided to us along the river. And we've gotten a few different additional parks. The Borsky Park recently opened up just last year, and a few other facilities that we're continuing to work on. And you all are right there with us as one of the primary state sponsors and state supports. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. If I may, part of the reason we get that good work done there is the partnership we have with the North Riverfront Partnership. Stephanie Phillips and her team are just phenomenal to work with. So they're at the Frankfurt Boat Launch, Tacony. We're looking at ways to partner with them more than ever on fishing and boating programming there in your part of Philadelphia. So thanks to Stephanie and team.
Representative Banta.
Thank you, Chair Kulik and Chair Maloney. You guys already touched on this, but I just want to say thanks for everything you did for Lake Erie and the marine up there. I like, I've been here a few years. I like what you do, so I'm very concerned when you guys merge. How does that change things for us? How does that change things for you? Does the governor have a play in this at all? I mean, if I talk to 2 fire departments up there, for example, if you ask them to merge, you know the answer. It's not an easy thing to do, and I think, as far as I can tell, you guys are doing a good job, and there's some things that are completely different from the Game Commission that I consider that you guys do and what they do in the way you handle business. So our concerns are that merger. And again, could you answer the governor's play in this? How would that fall into play?
Let me just jump in here 1 second. We're not talking a merger of the commissions.
Okay.
We are discussing,
Yeah.
what is coming out is more of services that overlap and ways in which they can be more efficient. Is that correct, Director?
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah. I just kind of want to get his perspective here. We don't have to
And I don't,
elaborate on it.
if you can just loosely, because
Sure.
again, not
Sure.
part of what we're
Tha-
here for today, but, you know, if you would like to, go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, again, we have certain administrative functions that both agencies perform. That in other states, as part of the analysis, are you have one sort of structure that does that administration. So some of the questions is how can we be serving things like our license system, right? So if you've got your hunting and fishing license, it's the same system. It's the same exact system. Is there a way that we could more efficiently use hunter and angler dollars to manage that system in a way that keeps the cost down of running that system and allows for more investment into conservation? Another example that I've used a number of times that I think helps to wrap people's heads around part of what sort of was the aha moment. You drive up the Susquehanna River. You pass a fishing boat launch and a game launch and a fishing boat launch and a game launch. Boat accesses that are maintained by, and this is, the maintenance staffs do a great job, but you've got two different teams of maintenance staffs that come from different places, different equipment, different funding streams, that are serving the same constituency. So if they're both serving waterfowl hunters and anglers, is there a way that we can provide that service delivery of boat access along the Susquehanna River in a more efficient way? And if there is, could you direct some of those resources into habitat conservation? That's what this is really looking for, is where are those efficiencies? And, one of the things that we're so blessed with in Pennsylvania is our independent Board of Commissioner structure, right? This is, Don and Rick are both here today. Having an independent Board of Commissioners that makes decisions on Class A wild trout streams or any of the other things that we do. We want to make sure that is maintained forever, absolutely maintained forever. If you look at the scope of work with the WMI, it was not looking at the board structure, not looking at the governance piece of this. It's really looking at how do you manage these operations more efficiently so that angler and boater dollars can be used and maximized to the greatest extent for the customers, the staff, and the resources. At the end of the day, the analysis will be done. We'll share it with you guys. We'll share it with the Senate. We'll share it with the governor's office. We'll share it with our board, and we'll see what some of the options are. There's no foregone conclusion, but I applaud our board. There's been times in the past where Legislative Budget and Finance Committee has taken a look under the hood, but this is now the agency saying, hey, we want to look. Is there a way that we could deliver some of these services better? And at the end of the day, it's not our call. But, I've said it to our staff, I've said it to our partners, morally, ethically, Representative Haddock, absolutely. Are these at the margins when it looks at revenues and expenses? You're darn right they are. It is right there. Red line, black line. It is close every year. Getting closer. 20% senior lifetime license holders. No revenue coming in from that. Costs going up. Of course they should go up. The cost of law enforcement, the cost of our biologists, the cost of that boat in Lake Erie go up. So for those things that are perhaps duplicate and serving the same purposes between us and the Game Commission, it's how can you do those things better? And again, I just had a conversation yesterday with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. We met up in State College. They used to have about 20 people that did work on threatened endangered species and non-game work. They're down to 9 people now. And as we look at this federalism system that we have with the Fish and Wildlife Service, with the U.S. Forest Service, also down 20% in staff. And there is a relationship that we play with our federal counterparts in the delivery of conservation. Warren there's a national fish hatchery in Warren. Unbelievable capacity up there. They raise trout. As I understand it, they can't staff the place. Well, you've got capacity there to raise fish, game and non-game species. You've got things that our federal partners are no longer able to do that you need for conservation. Well, if there is some redundancy that we've got with our partners at the Game Commission, that you could reinvest that capacity into conservation, that's what we're looking at. The Delaware River, right? There is, and we do a lot there, but I'm sure we could be doing more. So that's what this is all about, maximizing the hunter and angler dollars for conservation. Yep.
Thank you. All right, we've got a little bit of time left. Rep. Cook?
Mr. Executive Director, you and I go way, 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 way back. And I want to say thank you to you and your entire team. You do an outstanding job. A lot of people don't know, and correct me if my numbers are wrong, we're talking 83,000 miles of navigable streams in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There are 4 educationally approved programs that you can get for your high school and put them in there, and it's been an absolute tremendous relationship, and I just think people need to know that. You and your team don't hear that enough, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us in the field, your staff on Dunkard Creek. That one of the signature things that we've done in the last few years has gotten into the propagation of freshwater mussels. So we are have responsibility for things other than just trout and smallmouth bass. Freshwater mussels are one of them, and the work that our team has done has been nothing short of remarkable. And it was really cool to be out there with Representative Cook planting freshwater mussels that we had raised at our Union City State Fish Hatchery, or actually Union City Conservation, or Union City Aquatic Conservation Center, we now call it. And we found mussels that we had planted the year before that were surviving. That was pretty darn cool. So thank you for being there that day.
It's a great way to get them out from behind the screen, off the phone, and connect back out there with nature, so thank you.
Yeah, we actually had a couple of the kids that joined us. We had them write an article for us for our magazine. We've really tried to get them as engaged as possible.
Representative Smith?
Thank you, Chair Kolick. Tim, Kaylee, thank you so much for being here today. You guys do a great job. I appreciate the outreach that you reach out to my district that I can pass on to my constituents. I do greatly appreciate that. My question would be, and I heard you say earlier when you're kind of talking about this study that's going on, that ultimately it's not your decision.
Right.
So that would be my question. You know, I realize the Fish Commission, my thought on it's an independent commission, and you have your board that can make decisions. How much control does the governor have over the Fish Commission in your decisions? I mean, anything as minor as a website change to your budget at the end, you know, coming up with your budget. How much control does the governor have over you guys, even though you're an independent commission?
Yeah, so we submit, I mean, our budget needs to get approved annually, and that's something that's been, you know, time, I don't say forever, but as long as, you know, the agency's been around, I think the budget gets approved by the governor's office. We have certain purchasing rules. You know, anything administratively, we need to adhere to the rules of the Commonwealth. So, you know, ultimately, I think it rolls up with the budget there. And so and I will tell you that when we submit that, we're mindful of revenues and expenses. And so they're making sure that we're living within our means. So approve the budgets. Administratively, we adhere to Commonwealth rules. You know, we work with the Attorney General's office if a lawsuit would come up. The governor's office also is the one who appoints our commissioners. Ultimately, we have a board of 10 commissioners that are appointed by the governor and approved by the state senate. And I think what I was referring to is that if, you know, where I say we don't control it, you know, just like when we have worked with you guys in recent years on the ability to set our own license fees or the fish fund, boat fund flexibility. If there would if anything that would come out of the study that would suggest some sort of structural change to be considered, that's something that we would not make. It'd need to be done by the legislature and the governor's office.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And Clow Lake is coming up still in the design phase, so thank you for your patience there on that one.
Yep, thank you.
Chair Maloney, we've got a few minutes left.
I don't think we have any time limit, do we?
Yes, some of
I didn't think anything was advertised. So, thanks for being here. I will tell all my colleagues, as far as the study that's taking place right now, the devil's always in the details. So, I look forward to any of those details as any decisions that get made going forward. You and I have discussed that over the years for sure.
And I'll tell you, you'll get all the details.
Yeah, and for a lot of my colleagues who have not been here or been involved, a lot of this discussion has been taken on long before they were here, and it's been something that has been talked about for a long time. But to get to some of the nitty-gritties, Tim, with Act 45, which you mentioned, can you give us a little bit of a rundown as to how you are being compliant to that? And doesn't have to be lengthy, but it would be a good help.
Yep, happy to. Yeah, so we did, when Act 45 passed, since that passed, we provided our list of permits to the Office of Transformation and Opportunity for inclusion in their catalog, as was required by the fiscal code. They're building out the public dashboard, I guess, by February 10th, per the legislation, but they've got all of our information. We happily provided that. We have over 90 unique licenses, permits, and/or certificates that met the criteria, and we provided that data, and will continue to do so as required by law.
Okay. Well, that's helpful because, as you said, it's a law that is to be a little bit more transparent and helpful. So something that's a little bit more on the concerning level, I don't know what all you can give as an update or how you are handling this, but I understand that there's a tremendous concern, at least out of one of the hatcheries, with forever chemicals. I do have a tremendous concern to that with the public health and/or the concern of our own fish. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, and I think what you might be referring to was some correspondence about our hatchery that's close to the State College Airport, so the Benner Springs State Fish Hatchery. Yeah, so.
But don't I understand it's because DEP flagged it, correct?
So, yeah, so we, correct, right. It was flagged for us about concerns from the water source there that's close, hydrologically to the airport where the firefighting foam had been used. But we have been testing our fish, and, it's my understanding that, we're meeting advisory levels and that they're safe to consume. We just provided the letter, I believe, to the General Assembly recently. We're required each year to test for PCBs, another type of chemical that you don't want to ingest, to make sure that they're safe. And we provided that letter to you, letting the committees know that they were safe to consume. So aware of that, absolutely monitoring the situation, but at this point feel that the fish are safe.
All right. I just always want to be proactive with whatever we can be proactive with. And so to a question with respect to compliance, the federal Dingman-Johnson funding compliance, very similar to what the Game Commission has with Pittman-Robertson funds. Can you speak to any letters that you would have received as a decision that had to be, I'll say, revamped or adjusted with respect to their guidelines not being complied with?
You want to come up? And Laurel, Laurel and Katie, they are the ones that work with our federal aid staff, and we regularly go through audits with them. Laura, could you maybe talk a little bit about the auditing requirements, and if we ever do get findings, what we do with those?
Sure. We go through. Thank you. We.
Light should be on. It is now.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. We go through a number of federal audits that are required as part of the federal grant programs that we participate in. So, for example, the U.S. Coast Guard administers a recreational boating safety grant to the states. And as Fish and Boat Commission, we are the authorized state agency to receive those federal grant dollars. And every 2 to 3 years, we go through an audit with them where they take a look at our state laws and regulations, and also our programs and how we administer them to ensure they're in compliance with the program guidelines. And of course, they submit their findings to us. And if there are any findings that require corrective action, then we are responsive. They require us to be responsive to ensure that we correct whatever it might be deficient. And so we did recently have a U.S. Coast Guard recreational boating safety audit, I think it was last year, and we had no findings in that audit. We're currently going through a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service audit, and it's quite extensive because that is where we get a large chunk of funding from that federal grant program. And so they actually come and they sit in our office for a period of time and meet with us repeatedly to look into all the information that they might need to determine if there are any deficiencies. And again, if there are findings, we submit a corrective action plan and ensure that we follow through on those corrections. And to your
But all of
point-
those concerns usually have some sort of merit, and then, as you said, corrective action
Yes.
that corrects that issue.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And happy, when we get, those are letters that we get from the federal government, happy to share those with the committee as well, to let you know what findings may be and what we, and again, it's something that gets done regularly, Coast Guard, Fish and Wildlife Service, and we comply willingly.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate that. That's why I think it's important for especially the public to understand that there isn't just a specific funding source, as you very well stated earlier. And some of those guidelines are very important because, after all, if we violate them, we always got to be brought back on the track. So thank you so much.
And I think I've said to this body before, I'll say it again, it's not our money.
Correct.
This is the anglers and boaters' money. It's the money that they spend on boat fuel that we are entrusted to spend on their behalf. So, happy to share those reports with you.
And you brought up and there was a question by another representative earlier with respect to, funding, and you clearly stated that I believe your largest chunk of responsibility is personnel.
Yep.
And so we know that some of the personnel costs are picked up by some federal fundings and things like that. So I think that's, again, very important to make that clear. And on that note, do you have a guideline of procedures that you go through if your personnel has a complaint or some sort of violation against them?
Yes.
Can you share that with the committee at some point?
So
We are limited on time. I have the room until 10 o'clock, so if we can summarize, and I know these these discussions can continue with the chair, but if you can just briefly, because I'm going to adjourn the meeting shortly.
So we adhere to the Commonwealth personnel rules.
Okay, I appreciate that. I really didn't know that there was a scheduled time limit to this meeting, and I didn't remember seeing that, so we'll have to adjust that in the future, so thank you kindly.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to reserve any questions or comments I have. We can obviously meet as we need to. I want to thank you for presenting your report today, and we will be doing this again, or someone will be doing this again next year. But I appreciate it. This is my final report from you, and I appreciate everything the Fish and Boat Commission has done. I am really looking forward to the next, how many months left? Till the end of November, and we're looking forward to getting a lot done this year. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.